and welcome to today's class. We are going to be creating a centerpiece in a rustic birch box using Sola wood flowers. This is our down-to-earth arrangement. So we're really utilizing the natural flowers in the state they are in, along with some bark flowers and of course some pine cones. So the first step is you are going to take your box and you're going to add floral foam to this. So to start off, we are going to grab some moss just to cover on top of the floral foam and make sure that if anyone peers in there, they won't see that green floral foam. And what you want to do is almost create, there's a stick in there, is create a little bit of like a nest. And it can cover the foam entirely, or you can make almost like a circle. To me, I like the inside to stay open. It's just easier to put greenery in there, so I leave a little opening here. And really for me, it's just about covering around the edges so you don't see. So put that in there. You don't need a lot. If you have a lot to stab through, it can be a little bit harder when you're putting the greenery in. So then we're going to take our greenery and we are going to move this aside for a second. We are going to chop this up. So I kind of separate this out a little bit here, and I use my clippers, and I'm just going to come in and snap away at these longer pieces. Now, I'm going to do the same thing with the eucalyptus, taking off any tags that you might see on there. Always push up your greenery so you don't accidentally snip that. And really, I'm going to push this greenery pretty much all the way up anyway. So whether you do it now or later, and then I'm going to snap. Now, I may wind up making these stems shorter later, so it's better to have them too long, and then later you can adjust them as you need to. The flocking has a lot of stuff that might fall off, so just be aware that may stick to everything you're doing there. All right, so we've got our base greenery ready, and we are going to use this in a couple different ways. So if you see, if I separate these pieces out, I can see the stem. So I can do shorter pieces, and I can also keep some of these longer. And if I'm keeping them longer, I may wind up pulling off some of these bottom pieces just so they're not getting hidden in the arrangement, and I can restem them with a glue gun and a piece of wire. So I think we're going to start off first with snipping just a few of these and creating sort of around the base. So this arrangement is going to be about double the height, maybe a little bit more from what I have right now. So I'm going to just kind of place it in. Now this is going to hold that moss in place also. So I'm just going to go right around my corners, and I'm just taking two of these pieces, giving them a little, I'm actually going to trim. I'll trim there. Give them a little trim. And then coming in and adding them on my corners. Now you don't have to be symmetrical when you do this. You can absolutely go another direction, because this one's got a little nub down there. I'm just gonna pull that piece off, trim off that little nub just so it's easier to stick this in the arrangement. We're good. So I've got my four corners, and now I definitely want to create, I'm gonna take out a few of those pieces, and I'm gonna do like a taller piece or two in the center. So I'm just trimming off those little nubs. This may be too tall, we'll see. Nope, definitely not. So I'm gonna do this kind of in the middle here. And I love this because you can bend the greenery to be kind of in whatever direction you want, because it's got a wire inside. So if you wanted to angle it out, you can absolutely do that. Pull off a few more little pieces there. Trim, trim, trim. Shorten them a little bit. That same thing over here. I'm just going to keep filling. I'm going to save these little pieces for later, and I'm going to do a couple more of these. I'm going to kind of just keep working my way around different angles. And I'm going to save these two pieces. I'm going to start using my eucalyptus. So the eucalyptus I've bunched up. You can kind of turn pieces if you want to get that particular kind of look. And I want to start filling in here. And I might even spread a few pieces out as I go, kind of however I need to. And I'm just going to add them in sort of in these gaps I've got going on here and see where I get. I've kind of got this gap under the flowers there that I like, and I want to add some in there. Might shorten this piece a little bit. Here. Yeah, that way kind of hangs out the side. I'm going to do the same thing on this side for sure, because I like that look of the pieces kind of flowing down a little. And there's going to be space when you're adding the greenery in, because you've got to have room for flowers. So don't stress it if you're like, ooh, I've still got a lot of room. So I'm just kind of looking for where I need to add more, and I definitely need to add a piece right in here. So that's where my last piece of this is going to go. So I'm using all 6 now, spreading out, making a little, and then I can sort of see where my gaps are and where I need to fill in some more. So I still want some height, so I think I'm going to pull off a few of these pieces here. Come in. There we go. Fluff it all out a little bit. And then I'm going to keep turning, and that's so important, so I can see I've still got some gaps over here. So you just want to keep turning your arrangement, making sure you don't have any spots that are just really missing something. Sneak that piece in right there. I think this one, hard to decide where I want this to go. And this is why it's good not to necessarily glue pieces of greenery in right away, because sometimes you'll change your mind and you're like, ooh, actually I want this over here. So you just need to move it. No biggie. You know what? I need a little bit of this greenery right in the center. So I'm going to put one here, right there. And then I've pulled this little piece off here, and I'm actually going to put that on, I'm going to see a second, I'll put that on a wire in a minute and attach it. I'm going to grab, ooh, it's hard to decide where I want this. I may save it because I'm just not sure. I guess I'll go here. So, got my basics all started, greenery's in, and I've got some little pieces that I'm going to use in a moment. And so the first thing I'm going to do now is start to come in with my flowers. I like to start with my bigger flowers first, just because they're going to be harder to work around later. So big flowers first, and we're going to stem them as we go, although you're welcome to stem them all in advance. It's just harder to tell necessarily like what size you're going to want these to be. So hopefully you've got your glue gun heated up, and what we're going to do is take at the bottom of the flower, you're going to poke a little hole, a little twist and a push, pull it back out. I'm just going to add a dab of the glue. It doesn't need to be a lot. Just like that. And then I can sort of tell based on like where I want it to go. Probably cutting this in half will be good. And I'm just going to look for where's a nice big gap, especially since this is like a big piece of greenery here. I'm going to find a spot that I really want this to go. There's still room underneath. I'm going to keep working with that flower first, and I'm going to just keep adding these around. And this makes such a great base flower. Don't forget that you can also go down low with them as well. So like down here might be a really good spot for one of these two. So I'm going to sneak one of these little guys in. Down here. Yeah. I may actually want to adjust a little piece of greenery. I'll show you this in a second. And sneak it into the greenery, and that'll push the greenery down too. And then I'm going to keep working my way around the arrangement with these nice ivory colored zinnias. See where else I want them to go. So 2 more good spots for these. So I'm going to do one over here. And what I'm looking at is creating different levels. So if this one's this high, this one's a little lower, this one's a little lower. It's just nice to create that movement throughout your piece. I think I still may do, I'm like, some of these other flowers are seriously the stars of the show. So I'm not necessarily going to make these the forefront. Might have some other flowers that kind of even push on top of them. Go a little bit up and over. Stem a little. I think I still may keep this one. Not too high. There we go. Kind of like right in there. There we go. So we got the basic started out. Give it a spin. You can see. That's okay. Got plenty of room to add more flowers. So we're going to come in next And the pine cones are a pretty giant portion of this arrangement. So I actually want to think about adding the pine cones in first. And you're like, how do I stem the pine cones? A couple options. We can just set this pine cone in and let it sort of be in there. But it is good to add a little bit of a stem if you can. So you're going to spin with your wire and create a little bit of a base there, come in the center, and I'm going to point my wire up just like this. So I've created this little spin. There is no science to this. This is just one way to do this. It has to have a lot of patience. I'm going to go in with some glue, and I would be generous with the glue and very patient as you hold this. So I'm going to push this right down in there, and then I sometimes will even add, where it's not touching, like a little glue over the top. Woo. And then I'm going to hold this for a minute. You kind of got to push down, otherwise it sort of pops up on its own. It's not necessarily going to stay. And really what you're doing is just waiting for this to cool. I'm going to go ahead and add these pine cones now that they have dried. And I also didn't stem my flowers in that break, so you get to watch me stem my flowers. I'm going to look for a nice prominent spot, one on the top, and then I'm going to do one maybe more on like a side. And this is an arrangement that can go all around. But at the same time, I don't necessarily, or I think that you kind of have one side that's your favorite that maybe becomes the side that you look at the most. I'm just going to move that flower over, so I definitely have room for my other pine cone over here. And I'm going to sneak it in a little bit lower in the arrangement if I can. Let's see if I can get it in. And this might be one of those times when I need to move some greenery around a little bit. Make sure I can fit it in and not squish all my greenery. All right, it's in. Is it going to stay in? Yeah, good question. I think we're in. All right, so my greenery's here. Fluff it out a little bit. I think we're good. Okay. All right, so now we're going to go ahead. I'm just going to leave the 2 pine cones. I don't think I want 3. And we are going to add some more flowers. I'm going to go with my roses next. They are pretty sturdy and easy to sneak in here. I love a nice pretty rose right here between the pine cones. I can just get the right angle. There we go. Perfect. And I've got a couple more roses, and I want to get some of these other ones now down a little lower. So just stem. My stem a little shorter, and I like to sometimes pre-bend my stem a little if I know it's going to kind of sneak down over the edge. There we go. And it's just popping right out the side there. I'm going to get a little more height maybe with some of these flowers. There we go. Yeah. Okay. And so you're going to notice I'm just going to keep spinning my arrangement, finding those perfect spots for my flowers. And let's see, that one's pretty low. I think I can go even lower in this one. So this is the spot where I'm missing a little bit of the eucalyptus. I'm actually going to slide this piece right on my stem and let it kind of drape down below my flower, because I think this spot just needed a little bit of eucalyptus in it. I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. There we go. And then I can kind of float my eucalyptus around so I get the angle just right. And I'm going to pull up a couple pieces of the other greenery down as well, because it kind of needs that. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and add the rose. I've already used 3. And I think I don't want this to all be too perfect. Let's see. I really want this other rose. I think I might do 2 down low together, actually. I kind of like that idea a little bit. Sometimes I like to group my flowers together, especially if I have 4 of something, like in this case. So create a little cluster of those. And this is also a great spot for me to maybe add a little bit more of this greenery. So I'm going to use one of these little short pieces of wire that I've cut from when I was doing the flowers. And I'm going to stem that piece of greenery, pre-bend it just so it goes in right where I want. And sneak this in so that it'll kind of float out right there. And I'll probably add some more of those later too. All right, So now I've got these two, which are great ones to kind of sit on top of things. So I'm going to find my prettiest, most favoriteest one of all, and it's going to go more towards the top of the arrangement, I think. It's hard to pick. I think I like this one. So these ones can be a little pain in the butt to stem. Sometimes I trim the bottom. Oops. Probably better do this with scissors, but since this is what I've got in front of me. I just want to trim these, does it? Well, grab yourself some scissors, not your wire cutters for this. And once you do that, you can usually open up the space a little bit, and you'll find a spot you can stem it. If not, a lot of glue, like a big dollop of glue, and a little patience, and you'll get there. I'm going to do this one. I want this one to go right up here. So I'm going to come in with my other ones now, and let's see where I want these. I'm just adjusting. These have little wires in them, so you can kind of adjust the flower a little bit. I want to do this one over here. Leave it sticking up a little from the wrist. Adjust this just a little bit. There we go. All right. This one, trim some of that off. These are one of my favorite flowers because I love the thistle in the center. And that plays off so nicely next to that pine cone. And this spot is just screaming for one of these. Let's put it right, maybe a little bit lower. I don't know. Still thinking about where I want this one. I think I want it here, but actually, I'll go a little higher. All right. So what I'm going to do now is come in with my final ones, which are these ones that have a little bit of a hint of bark. And so they're not too bad to stem. So I'm going to go ahead and stem and then place these ones in. Hopefully you've got a few gaps left. If not, these are great ones to kind of poke almost on top of an arrangement as well. So I'm just going to do my spin, and then I just kind of move and see like, what needs to go where. This, I feel a little bit needs to go down in. Maybe, I'm going to keep my zinnia up on top, so I'm going to keep that there, but I think I'm going to sneak one of these guys down there. So this is where you have to maybe just do a little bit of adjusting to make it all work in your arrangement. Even more of a bend, actually, just so I can get in the foam there. And it's another one where I'm going to want to come in with a few pieces of this other greenery. And this one I'm going to actually kind of almost attach right to the box inside. Definitely need at least one more piece of that. We'll see though. I'll come back and check it in a minute. So, spinning. Kind of want, I put those two roses together before, but now I want to move them, of course. So I'm going to move one to this side, and then I'm going to sneak one of these bark flowers in here. What I think I want. Sometimes I just change my mind, and that's the best part about not gluing anything in to start, is you can totally change your mind about this arrangement and how it's put together as much as you want. And I want to pop these ones out just a little bit because they've got that pretty brown. I think it just makes a nice accent. So now I got one more to add, and I'm just going to figure out where I want it. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure. I'm sold. I almost have like 3 of these flowers up here. I kind of want a brown one up top somewhere. I'm playing with it, just seeing what I like. Yep, that is it. So I'm going to move this little guy up top where I had one of those dogwoods, and then I'm going to switch it out. Easy peasy. There we go. It's kind of where I have another one. And then I've still got this zinnia here, and I'm going to keep this up here, and I'm going to move a little greenery, and then I'm going to sneak dogwood down here. Pre-bend this just to get it in there. Move a little bit off center. There we go. It's in, it's down. I'm going to add in definitely a little bit more of this greenery bottom underneath to support it and just give it that extra bit that it needs here. thirst, but I got it. Okay, so we are in. Dogwood's in. I'm giving it a spin. So like I want to like the basic gist of it, right? And then I've got some more of these extra pieces of this that I want to add in. And so these are perfect for adding in any spot that has just a little gap. And if you just need, I like want a little bit more peeking up in some spots. I think I need a longer wire there. Use this one down low since the wire is shorter. I'm going to come in down here. Need this rose. Oops. Squeeze it in. Squeeze my rose in. There we go. Push this down a little bit more maybe. Sometimes a flower doesn't stay right where you want it. Always add a little bit of glue if you know this is where it's going to be. So sometimes like something else will just push a flower back up. I don't really do that till I know that's where I want everything. So what I would love to do now is get some more pieces that are coming up in the center. So I'm going to need some longer wires for that. You can also, if this is, you know, for you and you're not concerned as much, you don't necessarily have to wire it. You could just kind of put it between those flowers and it'll probably stay right where you want anyway. I can see here I've got like a big bit of this greenery, so I want to add this in. So another way you can do it is just a little bit of glue, and then right in between all this eucalyptus, if I can find an opening here, I will literally just glue that right in there because it'll attach itself in. It'll stay right in there between those pieces. It just breaks up that big bunch of eucalyptus a little bit, and if there's a glue string, you just pull it away. And then I'm going to keep my turning. So I can see a few more little gaps. I definitely want some more pieces sticking up though, so I'm going to put my focus there. Just because I don't want to, not have enough pieces sticking up. I think that creating that little bit of height's really nice there. All right, so I've got glue strings everywhere. If you have a lot of glue strings in your arrangement, I wouldn't worry too much. You can hit it with a hair dryer later and kind of melt a few of them away or just pick them away carefully. All right, so let's kind of evaluate what we've got going on here so far. This, looking cute. We are going to add in, before I do baby's breath, I'm going to come in with a little bit of this really fun spriggy stuff here. So I'm just going to pull some pieces off. So whatever kind of fillers you have, you can work them in. I don't need that small pine cone. And this is the same thing. It's just adding another texture to this piece, which is something I love to do. I'm just putting a little glue on this one. There is a lot of greenery in here. And honestly, the glue will hold some of these pieces right where you want them. If it feels like an area that maybe needs a little bit more, then I will wire it just because it might need it. But honestly, up tall between flowers, I'm not too concerned. So I'm gonna give a little bend. Love this piece to poke out here. There we go. Next thing is we're gonna add some baby's breath. So these pieces of baby's breath are great because they are preserved. So it's similar to dry, but it's a little bit different. It's another way to just fill in, add that pop. And you're gonna notice I am not, I'm not gluing this in. I'm just popping pieces in and letting it nestle between the greenery. If I need it in a spot, I can use some glue and put it on a wire. I could use some floral tape. It can poke in the floral foam, so if the stem is long enough or you leave it long enough, you can poke it right in the floral foam, so it just depends on your spot. Like this one, I can't really bend it, so I'm going to put this a little bit of glue, and I'm actually going to stick it in straight and let it catch onto some greenery. There we go. That way I get a little on the bottom, not just the top. And I just want to keep spinning and finding those cute spots where I just need that little breakup in the color. So over here again, I've got a lot of greenery. I'm just adding a little bit of glue. See if I can separate the greenery. Slide this in, let it grab onto some stuff there. And even if you don't think you want to use all of it, use it all. You want to put all the goodness right in your flower arrangement. This one I think will actually get into the foam a little bit. There we go. Spin, spin, spin. Where else do you need it? I know I need some more up top for sure. And then just work it all the way around, work it at different angles, little pieces, bigger pieces. Try different things and see what works. And so you can put a piece in and then you can spread another piece out. See, I'm not loving these two together. Break it out apart. That one in. I don't like it to be, for me personally, I like it to be like in there but not too high up. And control it all together. I do want to fill a little gap here. All right. Right here, just looks like a little spot where I can see the inner mechanics. You can all hear my phone ringing. Didn't silence my phone. All right, let's sneak this spot in straight here. Now, if you ever want to change your mind and pull this out, this little bit of hot glue is not going to permanently hold this, so I wouldn't stress that too much. One more spin, because I've got a little bit left to use. And like I told you, you're going to use it all. So look between flowers. Where can you break something up by adding a little interest between flowers, between the pine cones? Definitely could use a little more right up in here. And then, this is tough, my final spot. I think I need to actually break this up a little bit more. And this is it. You are almost done with your arrangement. I don't have any over here, so I'm going to come right in here. Sneak some in there. And I'm going to sneak some right in here. Whoop. Right between these flowers. And there's a big bit of greenery here. I just think it'd be kind of nice to get right in there. Haha, there we go. So let me clear off my garbage here. Give it a little spin so you can see. Give it a little tip. And voila, that is your arrangement. So if you have any questions, just reach out, have fun creating, and I can't wait to see what they look like.